Okay, so how do I do my music recording starting with MIDI files? So a quick look around the studio room here. Here's the rack with all my MIDI sound modules. I actually have a XR18 if I needed to do 18 inputs to the computer, but typically that doesn't get used. I usually use this Behringer UMC 204, which only has 2 inputs, which is fine for me doing music by myself, and it also is my MIDI interface. So where do I start? Well, the first thing I do is I usually go to midiworld.com, and this is a free download site, and then I will pick an artist. Like I'm going to go ahead and choose Z here, clicked on the Z, and here's ZZ Top, and then I could download, these are all the songs that are available here from ZZ Top. I'm going to go ahead and download LaGrange. So I save it in a folder that I call MIDI Downloads. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Save here. So now it's finished, so I can click on Open File down here. And then if I want, just to preview it, I can let Windows 10 play it. This is just the Windows 10 player audio player. So it will, whatever voices it has, it will, find the various MIDI files and assign a voice to it and play it. This way I can listen and I can see, does this song actually have a drum part I like? Does this part have a melody line? A lot of the songs do not have melody. They are like true karaoke songs that you either have to sing the melody or provide it totally externally. There is no track with the melody line. And listening to this so far, I don't hear a melody, so I'm assuming this is a song without a melody track. Okay, so that's a way to sort of preview it and proof it. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and close the Internet Explorer. Here's the files that I have downloaded already, so I could click on another one here. Like here, I just downloaded Kenny Rogers' Lady the other night. Didn't know he was going to pass away, but I'm thinking about doing this, and I haven't even previewed it yet. I'm not sure if a melody is there or not. Yes, there is a melody. I'm pretty sure the drum part on this is going to be pretty basic and straightforward, so I'm going to have to check this out more in detail to determine if I'm going to use it or not. So here's the software I use. It's called Cakewalk by it was Cakewalk Sonar Professional. They changed the name now. It's just Cakewalk by BandLab. And when I first bought it, it was expensive. It was anywhere from $200 to $500 for the software. Now it's basically free, I hear. Maybe you have to have the Cakewalk software to start with, but you go to the BandLab and download this software. And I'm not sure if it's free or not, because like I say, I already own the Cakewalk Sonar software. So here's what you get. I open this up. This is a song. This happens to be Asia's Only Time Will Tell. So here's all the tracks. This is just MIDI now. These are the MIDI tracks. And they show up here both as a timeline and down here as a mixing console. So all the tracks we see here now are just MIDI tracks, okay? So if I click on this one where it says this is track number 2, and it says this is track number 2, it happens to be MIDI channel number 2. It has a default MIDI voice of overdriven guitar. I'm not sure if you can see that, but that's what it says. And I can open that up and I can, here's other voices I could use if I wanted to change it. See, overdriven guitar is the one that's checked there, but I can change it to any one of these other voices if I want, or I can just disregard this and not even use it, because I can just choose my own voices. So what I would do is this song happens to have 13 MIDI tracks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to an open area. I'm going to right click with my mouse and I'm going to insert an audio file. I don't think you can read that I can't see it in the monitor, but insert audio track. So here's my first audio track. This is an audio track. All the others were MIDI tracks. This is an audio track. And then I can decide, what do I want to do? Do I want to play the music myself? And if I do, I can go up here to the top, like this happens to be the overdriven. I'm going to do something that's a little easier for me. Where's the bass line? Well, here's acoustic grand piano, more drums, brass. Come on. I should have previewed this before, but I didn't. There's got to be a bass line here somewhere. It's not labeled bass. I have to find the MIDI voice. Oh, here we go. Electric bass. Forgot that Asia is a long time ago, but Wetton was the bass player. So what I can do now is I can see if I can do this. I'm going to have to move the camera around. I can actually open up the music staff here. I'm going to do Alt-6, and it actually turns on. Here is the bass line. And when I start playing this, if I was to start the song going, see, here goes the cursor, and it's going to basically almost like it was a karaoke, but for musical notes, and it's going to show the actual bass notes. I can play along with this, all the way through the song. And that's typically what I do when I add a bass line. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this now. And I'm going to close the staff. I'm going to click on the button down here and get rid of the staff. So then what I would do is I decide, am I going to play the music, or am I going to have my synthesizers, my MIDI modules play it? So what I would do is I would look at the MIDI channel, like this happens to be, if I was to do the bass part, it happens to be MIDI channel 9, electric bass. So then I would go over to one of my modules here. Typically I use this, the Roland SC33, because it's really easy to change the input channels and the MIDI channels, and I can get most of the voices that I want. If I have some specific vocal needs, I usually use this Korg X5DR, which has a lot of nice melody lines for different kind of vocals. But I also have Roland U220, and I have this VOCE V3, which I just got recently used, which is a really nice Hammond V3 simulator. So once I decide which I'm going to use, these are always patched in with the MIDI feed. I don't have to worry about that. But then I have a patch bay down here that I can decide, okay, which output do I want to use? Which module do I typically want to use? Patch it in, and then that goes over here and feeds the MIDI, the USB interface. So I'm going to go ahead and close this sample song because it doesn't really have any audio tracks. I'm going to go ahead and close this. It's going to ask me if I want to keep it, if I want to save my changes, and I'm going to say no. And now I'm going to open the song that I've already done, that you've seen. So here's Jackson Browne, Somebody's Baby. So I'm going to open this one up. I've already added many audio tracks and effects. Like, here is the reverb effect. I'm going to go ahead and minimize that so it's out of the way. But there's a lot of different effects that can be added here. And then I can put sends in here, like I've added a send, and the drum has a little bit of reverb on it, and my 12-string guitar has a little bit of reverb. But here's where all the MIDI tracks end. They're all muted, and here's where I actually start. There's a guitar track here which was a MIDI, a synthetic guitar track. Then there's a piano track. Then there's the drum track. I'm playing the bass. Here's on the bass track. And then one of the voices, I had two different voices so that I can sort of blend them together. And then a second piano, because the first piano was a electric piano, and my second piano is a regular grand piano. And then my 12-string guitar. So I can see on a timeline view, if I was to start this playing, none of the MIDI tracks are active. I just use those as data files that I created, the individual audio tracks. And then I do all the mixing. You can the mixing, panning, sweetening, all can be done here. And then there's actually automated pan and things like that, automated mute and pan. I typically don't use that because I haven't quite figured it out how to use it reliably. But then once I get everything set here, I would go up here to File, up in the upper corner here, open that up, and then Export. Export as an audio. Choose where I want to put it. So here's my folder for audio library, and I've already done this. I've already exported it. So basically, what it's going to do is it's going to create a WAV file, the entire mix, stereo, a sample weight of 48,000, bit depth 32, various options here as far as dithering, automation things and everything, and then I just clicked on the export here, and in a matter of seconds it creates that WAV file. And then typically I will open up the WAV file with some just audio editing software where I can trim the beginning if I want to get something out of the beginning, and trim the end, and then save the WAV file as a MP3, which is the one that's easiest to export. So hopefully you can see a lot of this, and hopefully it makes sense as far as the way I do things. Now, since typically all the music I do by myself, I do these one track at a time. I have the capabilities. I've done a couple of things with another guitar player, and I have the capabilities with the XR18 to be able to do up to 18 different tracks at once if I really wanted to have live drums and everything in here. But typically, especially now, just sort of hunkering down. It's Music Man Charlie making music as a individual. All right, that's the way I do it.